Hey, hi, hello, friends. And I'm back in seasonally inappropriate attire. That was a lot. And I am, of course, referring to Chantel's past like 24-ish hours. It's been a lot. Yesterday's video dumps and then the subsequent community posts were they a lot. So I thought, hey, why not react to it as one does? Now, you guys know, of course, I'm reiterating in every video, but probably going to be gone at the end of this week, and I figured I actually wasn't planning on reacting, to be very fair with you. I was thinking about going through one of Amber's vlogs because she's finally been uploading vlogs and I no longer have to sit through like lives, hours and hours of it because I'm bored with that story. And I was going to do that, but then Chantel dropped this news that she was back together with him, with Koki, and that she had gonorrhea. Spoilers for that, by the way. Oh my goodness. I just decided, you know what? Might as well leave on a low note. So the video that I have right now, it's actually an amalgamation of two different videos that she put up. I think one just sort of abruptly ended. So this is her sorry and hanging out at home videos. I've trimmed it down. It's about 6 minutes worth of content. So let's jump right into it.
Looks really bad. Holy crap. My lip looks really bad. If you can see, there's little lines. I was shaving my mustache and my beard. And I don't know, I must have cut my lip. And it hurt really bad. Like, it was like taking all the skin. Oh, it hurt so bad. And it wouldn't stop bleeding. Hi, Karen! So I had to like... I don't think they are either, Jordan.
Okay. I'm not sure necessarily what this is. I know there's a lot of information floating out there for that it could be like herpes. I wouldn't be surprised by that given just how unwise she's being and how little I think Nader actually keeps to the faithfulness part of being in a relationship. Personally, I don't really think he thinks of this as a relationship. I think he sees Chantel as friends with benefit at the very most, someone he's having sex with, a side piece if he's got another girlfriend. I don't think he gives Chantel any kind of emotional consideration at all. I don't think he gives a shit, other than not alienating her entirely so that she'll stop paying for stuff, you know? And as for this thing on her lip, I think it's a little fast for herpes to present, like for her to have nothing one day and the next day it looks this bad. Then I had a thought. I was Googling it, which never do that. Never, ever Google skin conditions. It is, like, it's very difficult to gross me out. But, oh my God, that, like, skin conditions are just disgusting. What can often happen with something like herpes is that you'll get, like, these little blisters. They look like tiny little bumps on your skin, right? And it almost looks like acne in a way. And they're like filled with like a white goo of some sort. Anyway, if she shaves over it, like I have accidentally shaved over areas of my skin, not on my face, but on my legs that have had like a patch of eczema on it, and the skin there is really delicate, and I've shaved over it and it was a little too dry, and it's just taken the skin right off. So it could be something of that variety where there was texture there and she took a razor blade to it and it like caused everything to burst. It could of course just be something as simple as, oh, you know, maybe she does have like acne, or maybe it was just dry skin there from like the fact that it's getting cold and she's turning the heater on. We don't really know. Wouldn't surprise me, but I don't know. But I had a thought of how would you check for something like that, right? Like if anybody here knows, it didn't occur to me to check before I came on here, so I don't know. But if someone could leave it down below in the comment section for me, I'd appreciate that. How do you check for herpes? Is it like a blood test? Do you do like a cheek swab? What, you know, I don't really know what you do to check for something like that, because if she has something like that, how would she know? I'm assuming that if she went to the clinic and they took a urine sample, that might not show something like herpes, right? I think, correct me if I'm wrong, please, because I don't know once more. And I don't think she ever went back to get her blood work done. So she could have potentially something else wrong and she wouldn't know it because she just hasn't gotten all of the tests done.
Why would it be a burn above my mouth when you, like, it would be on my mouth, wouldn't it? I don't know, it's just stupid. I don't.
Okay, I don't actually think that this is a crack pipe burn, which is not to say that I don't think she's smoking anything of that sort. I just don't think that that's a burn. It doesn't look like a burn. It's got like burns. If it was that bad of a burn on someplace as delicate as her upper lip, she would have formed one of those blisters, like the blisters that fill with like liquid, right? That's what most often happens with burns that are this big. I've actually spelled, so fun fact, when my best friend was coming over to my house for the first time ever, I wanted to cook her dinner, and I would love to say I was like 13 or something like that, but I was actually like 19 years old, but I was really proud of myself. I was going to make her like this meat and cheese baked dish thing, and I made cheese sauce for it, and I immediately spilled it all down my front. So like most of it just caught on my t-shirt, and so it was fine, but some of it fell onto my they're like yoga pants, and it seeped through, and I had this like massive burn on my like thigh basically, but like on the side, on my hip bone, I guess that's the word I'm looking for. And it was just a huge burn there, and it blistered immediately, and it had this big puffy thing filled with liquid. It was terrible. It was hard wearing pants. I lived in dresses even though it was the middle of winter on the East Coast. Can't do anything. It doesn't look to me anything of that sort. It looks more like dry and crackly, the way that I imagine if you like take, you know, a bunch of your skin off, even if the skin is in and of itself damaged, which I think makes it a little bit more likely. And I have in the past waxed my face, and every once in a while, because I do once more have eczema, if there's a patch of skin there that's extremely dry and you wax over it, it will just peel all of the dead layers of skin off, and then a couple of layers of the healthy skin too, and all you'll be left with is like a mark that kind of looks like raw meat. And that's what that reminds me of.
I didn't get a call yet from the doctor. So the doctor is going to call me because I called them and just said I wasn't feeling too good. So she said the doctor will just call me. So he's probably going to call me soon, actually, because I close at 2.
All right, there's a couple things I want to point out in this. First, I don't know about how accurate this is. Partially because today, the day that I'm filming, which is October 11th, it is Canadian Thanksgiving. And my recollections around Thanksgiving in Canada are very vague. I was quite young then, and I didn't really get into Thanksgiving until we moved to the US, where I was making, you know, like a bulk of Thanksgiving because my friends were all celebrating it. My mom was just like, I want to be thankful for not having to cook. And I really got into cooking. I was like a lot younger then, and my parents just weren't that invested in it. Plus, it's not as big of a deal in Canada as it is in the US. So I remember that most stuff was closed, but my perception of it could be different. And of course, something like an STD clinic is going to have significantly different rules than something like a grocery store, right? I've never had the need to check the hours of an STD clinic. And I was always in Ontario. She lives in Gatineau Park, and I think that technically falls into Quebec as a province. So I don't really know. I don't know. If somebody there has more experience with this, I'd appreciate it. Though my understanding is that clinic was closed. So I have no idea who gave her a call. Still, given the fact that it's an STD, they might have wanted to let her know right away. The fact that she called her doctor and she said, I wasn't feeling too good, when in reality, she was feeling fine. She just didn't want to stand in line, which is laziness on her part. And she called and she said, I'm not feeling well. Can you tell me over the phone? I don't know if you guys are aware, but currently we are living through a very large-scale pineapple, and it's killed a lot of people, right? Every day there seem to be like hundreds upon thousands of pineapple-related deaths, and it's been frightening. It's been frightening. People are making accommodations where they wouldn't have done it before, and I can't help but feel that the reason that she called them and said, I'm not feeling well, and got out of standing in line is because she knew the effect those words would have. Chantel is by no means stupid, for all that we call her that a lot. Chantel is a relatively intelligent woman. It takes a certain amount of intelligence to be able to stay as, let's say, relevant on the internet as she has been, right? Despite the fact that she has no talent or skill or any amount of ambition, she still somehow managed to eke out a pretty good living. And I would assume that some amount of that has to do with her ability to recognize when outrage marketing is working. And I feel that she knew that if she called the doctor and said, I'm not feeling too well, you have a little bit of a cold, they might not want to risk the health of other people who are potentially already sick and potentially already have a compromised immune system due to XYZ illnesses they may be carrying. I can't help but feel that she knew that the doctors wouldn't want to take that risk and would accommodate her laziness. And that's why she said it. And it really makes me dislike her because she could have stood in line. She chose not to. She chose to be lazy instead. And now she came back and is putting extra work on essential workers. And I don't know if you guys are aware, but the Canadian healthcare system is actually pretty overloaded. Like on a general basis, Canada has a dire need for doctors and nurses. And there she is already on an average day-to-day basis abusing the medical healthcare systems that they have in place in Canada. And then on top of that, she's now like making them make accommodations for her laziness and using the pandemic as an excuse. I know I say this all the time. At this point, I think it means absolutely nothing, but genuinely, every other day I learn something new about Chantel, and every other day it causes my opinion of her to drop.
So we're getting ready to cook.
What?
We're getting ready to cook something special that they're gonna like.
Yeah.
I left that in there not because I particularly give a crap about what they're cooking or what they're going to show or any of that stuff. Spoilers though, they made lakmas. I left that in there because this is her attempt at erasing what she said about him in the past, and now she's just like, look, we're just doing friendly things. Friends get together and cook, and that's true. I have a bunch of both male and female friends who I've spent a lot of time cooking. Hell, one of my dearest friends has a smoker in her backyard, and a bunch of our other friends and stuff got together, and we camped out in her backyard and spent an entire night slow roasting and smoking a brisket. Did we have to? No, we pitched tents in her backyard. We are insane and it was fun. People do stuff like that. Cooking together can be pretty enjoyable. That's not why she's doing it. Chantel has no interest in cooking for all that she knows technically how to cook. Chantel has an interest in eating, and more importantly, Chantel has a vested interest in making the current narrative, whatever that happens to be, seem better so that we forget conveniently the past, because she's forgotten the past and she assumes everybody operates on the same spectrum that she does. She assumes that because she has this need, this willingness to forgive and forget, that everyone is going to feel the same way. We can't, and we don't. It's not that I hold on to every single thing that has happened from her past. I said multiple times to you guys that I have a really terrible memory, and a lot of times the reason I don't reference things that she's done in the past and put them in as evidence is partially laziness. Obviously, I don't have that kind of time, but also partially because I just don't remember which video it happened in. My memory is poor enough that I need the help and guidance of a lot of other reactors and you guys to let me know when I'm wrong. I am not that invested in her life. I am not going to commit every single detail of what she's done to life. She is not like Bella Hadid, and I am not a stalker. I don't give a shit. It's interesting to talk about, and I will for all that it's available on the internet and there, but I'm barely even willing to go to Kiwi Farms to do it. I'm pretty sure most reactors are in the same boat with this. So you're sitting there and you're acting like you're this happy couple and talking about ooh, we're going to be making something. Guess what it is? Because you want us to forget about the fact that you told us that he screamed in your face, tried to push boundaries, tried to gaslight you into thinking that an STD that he gave you was your fault, and has generally been an abusive asshat to you. And now you want to go back to him, so you want to make happy. And I know she's saying they're just friends, but she went over and she stayed over on his birthday. And then she drinks alcohol, and she says, oh, I'm taking a shot, but it's literally half a glass of alcohol. It's 4 to 5 ounces of alcohol. So fuck that shit. No. And if you are just friends, that's a very, very tight rope you're walking. And Chantel is not particularly known for her flexibility or exercise. So I'm pretty sure she's going to fall off that pretty goddamn soon if she hasn't already.
If you're just going to be an asshole, I'm just going to block you. Big love, I'm only in the mood to block people who call me a cunt for doing something I want to do. Yeah, sorry.
And there is that defensiveness come out. Now, Do I think that you should go call her a cunt? Ooh, sorry about that. Do I think you should go call her a cunt? No. It's unproductive and it gets you absolutely nothing. Chantel isn't going to be more likely to listen to you because you've called her a cunt. It might make you feel kind of better, but like super temporarily, you know? I know in my head, sometimes I think to myself like, oh, that fucking bitch. And I would love to come on here and like just rail and rage at her every time. But you guys know that's not my style. Mostly because while I don't think that all criticism needs to be constructive, I'm not sitting here giving her like pointers on how to get better. I don't think me just screaming and raging about why I think she's a bad person is really all that good for my mental health. And it's not going to change anything about her current situation. And for all that I don't like her, sorry, my chair is like, I have a glass mat that I have on the floor to help my chair roll better. And my chair keeps sliding off the edge of it. That's the sound that you heard before. Anyway, I don't think that it's going to change anything for Chantel. And for all that I don't like her, I do think that she is in a dangerous position. So if me speaking as calmly as I'm able to, and with the understanding that I too have anger issues and sometimes it slips, I think if we go about this with as much kindness as we can, with as much grace as we can give her, I think that would be for the best. Which is not to say that you can't say mean things to her, that you shouldn't say mean things to her, because we are only human and Chantel brings out the worst in every person. I just think if you can avoid calling her a cunt, then go ahead and avoid calling her a cunt, despite the fact that she herself does not hold to that standard. As we know, she has in the past and will again refer to people as the R word, as cunt, gunt, which is a terrible word and I hate. But she's going to do that. She's done it before and she'll do it again. Chantel's a hypocrite. But be better. That's all I'm going to say, to people. You can do better. I have faith in you. Don't stoop down to Chantel's level. For one thing, I think there might be gonorrhea on that floor.
Abby, the person called me a cunt. That's the only person I blocked. Should I not block that person or what? What does that have to do with anything? Me being called a cunt.
Okay. My experience with drunk people is fairly limited. You guys know I'm a pretty boring person. So I can't say. But when she was saying, should I not have blocked that person? Her speech sounded a little slurred. Right? Like, if someone can go back through and listen to this or has seen the original clip, please let me know. Her speech sounds just the slightest bit blurred to me in that sentence. But it could also just be that she's speaking out of haste. Still, there is no reason for her to speak out of haste. She seems to be talking relatively. She's not screaming. Her, eyes aren't like popping out of her head the way they sometimes tend to. She's irritated, sure. She's pretty irritated, but her irritation right now is coming from defensiveness and not from like anything else. So I feel like, yeah, she's mad, but she's trying to keep a pretty good check on it. And I think that she's not as mad as she could be. Chantel often employs the tactic that a lot of other toxic people do, which is when they've done something that they know objectively people are going to have a problem with. And so they immediately go on the defensive. And they go on the defensive the way that colloquial way, the best defense is a good offense, where you immediately make the other person the offender. You immediately deflect onto them all the negative characteristics that you are displaying. You're sitting here and saying, well, that person's calling me a cunt. Should I not have defended myself against that? Well, at the same time, you call in particular French fried girl the R word. You call her fans the R word. And you get offended when people are like, you shouldn't be saying that. You can't have it both ways. Either it's wrong or it's fine. If it's fine, then they can call you a cunt and you should be mad about it, right? That's all I'm saying. Because it's not like French Fry Girl is out here suing Chantel or like sending her like death threats or anything like that. French Fry Girl is just talking about it. So if you don't think that it's okay for French Fry Girl to be doing that, then maybe you shouldn't make those kinds of comments on your channel either.
What does that have to do with me being here? Why? I'm a cunt because I'm doing something I want to do?
Okay. Cunt has a lot of sexist undertones to it. For one thing, that and like the term pussy, which is like extremely funny to me because if you kick a man between the legs, they're going to go down like a sack of bricks, right? If you've ever seen a video of a childbirth, pussy can take a beating. That is not my joke. All credit goes to Betty White. Either way, calling someone a cunt has a lot of derogatory meaning. It's like a very heavily negatively connotated word to refer to a woman's private parts. And there's nothing objectively wrong with a woman's private parts, only if you think there is, and therefore to call someone a cunt is a bad thing. Also, meaning for that word varies from state to state. So I'm not particularly a big fan of that. You guys know me, liberal snowflake, so I'm always going to have a problem with shit like that. More importantly, I think that Chantel doesn't, it's not that Chantel has a problem with that word, given that she's used it in other applications towards other people, right? Like, I have a moral objection to certain words being used in everyday language, and therefore I just don't use them, and I don't like to hang out with people who use them either. Chantel is not like that. She uses that word. She just doesn't like being applied to her here, because it's not something that she can deflect off of, right? Sorry, my throat got really dry. If you are coming on here and you're just saying bitch, she understands that people are mad at her, but she can't deflect that onto other people the way that she could if someone just says, I cannot believe you've done this. Because then she can say, well, you guys know what I'm like, right? And it's not so much for the people who are commenting and talking to her back and forth. It's the people who are watching, who are VIBs, who don't comment very often. It's for her fans who are easily manipulatable, who are easily convinced that she is always the one in the right. That's who she makes these statements for, really.
Report for what? Crispy nugget? If you're mad, why are you here? Don't be here then if it bothers you, you know? Like, I told you I'm not at home in the title, so don't be here. I'm doing what I want to do with my life. If you approve or not, you know, like if I have a bad time, I want to come on here and vent, I will. And if it bothers you, you don't have to watch me.
All right, a couple things here. First, I hate the argument of, you know, I'll do what I want, and then if you don't like me, don't watch. No, I'll do both, because you can do what you want with your life, and I'll do what I want with my life. And in the wise words of Chantel, you know, I can't believe that you're getting mad at me for doing things that I want to do with with my life, even though you disagree. This is one of them. I mean, of course, I am watching things on the internet that occasionally make me mad from the safety of my home in a well-secure house surrounded by friends and family, not addicted to anything as I go to therapy and improve my life. Whereas you are actively choosing to be with an abusive, at this point, STD-riddled asshole. So I would get off my high horse. I could make a fat joke here, but I'm not. And also, as we know, horses don't exist. The other part of that that like really bothers me is that she's like, well, you know, you're free, feel free to go elsewhere. Feel free to like, it's a really like self-accept. Like she's like, well, if you don't like me, then why are you even here? Then why are you even here? It's continuously questioning people, continuously pushing people to get their, to get them basically to tell her that they love her, right? It's a signal to other people in her comments who are like maybe on the fence, saying that if you are thinking of questioning me, then obviously you don't love me. Obviously you don't love me, right? Last but not least, please don't report the stream. There's nothing in this to report. Look, there are things that Chantel does that I think can and quite frankly should be reported to YouTube for terms of service violations. For me, the biggest one is always going to be her distracted driving. Secondarily, and significantly lower than that, is when she's like inebriated out of her mind on camera, because I think that that's monetizing addiction. I don't think it should be on there, but at the same time, I think they can just demonetize streams like that, and I wouldn't care too much otherwise, you know. But the videos of her where she's driving, where she's obviously like distracted, she's incapacitated, sometimes she might even be high, those definitely need to go. And I think that she should suffer a lot more consequences for shit like that. She's not doing anything here that I think is a terms of service violation, other than on a very superficial level. She's being a garbage person, but much like with a lot of the toxic people that you encounter in day-to-day life, it's not a criminal offense to be a toxic person. It's not against YouTube's terms of service to be a toxic person. If it was, then people like Jane Dawson wouldn't have ever gotten as big as they did. She is not doing anything here that she can get kicked off the platform for. You might not like it, but by engaging in this sort of false flagging behavior, and I do believe it's a false flag in this case. I watched this video entirely through, both of them actually, and I didn't notice anything in them that was such a blatant terms of service violation, right? She didn't say like, you give me money, or she didn't say watch all my ads. I can't think of, other than just going back to her toxic boyfriend, I don't think that she's done anything in this that YouTube needs to take an action for. When you engage in behaviors like this, when every single one of her videos gets hit with so many like flags, my concern is that it's going to become like the boy who cried wolf, where YouTube is just going to get so many notifications from her. Every single video, every single day, there people are like constantly trying to get her dinged for something, that eventually they're just going to stop paying attention. So when you really do have things in there that YouTube needs to address, stuff like the distracted driving, stuff like the inebriation on stream, then YouTube is going to be much harder to get in touch with and get them to act on anything. And I don't, once more, like, you want to hit her cleanly. That's all I'm going to say. And I do mean that like figuratively and not literally. Please do not be hitting anybody literally. But but if you're going to engage in giving her like some sort of consequence for her actions, make sure that it is appropriate. Because if it's not, then it makes it really easy for people who like Chantel and want to excuse her bad behavior to make a martyr out of her. Which is the same thing that I feel like about everybody, right? Like, you want to be careful on how you apply these things. You want to be careful. You can dislike someone. Oops, sorry about that. You can dislike someone, and that's fine, because it's not illegal to dislike people. I dislike people both for rational and irrational reasons all of the time. But you can't go on a campaign like this to get them like banned off the platform, to get them to get videos of theirs stopped, to just serve them with consequences that are not duly earned at that time. Because if YouTube takes an inappropriate notice of that action, or worse yet, decides that obviously people are going to do this to them and like just stops paying attention to the situation altogether, I think we'll be in a much worse situation, especially for someone like Chantel, who is so used to pushing the boundaries of it, so used to it, and so good at self-victimizing. I just don't want to give her that opportunity. I want, when she does something wrong, for her to be held liable for those actions. And the best way to do that is to not try and hold her to be liable to stuff she hasn't even done. All this is, by the way, predicated on the fact that I watched the video and I've understood and remembered everything. If there's something really blatant in there that I just missed, feel free to let me know. I have no problem, like, saying that I was wrong about something. Because, as you know, I'm frequently wrong. And I will be again in the future, too.
I don't know what to say. I changed my mind. Why don't you change your undies? I know, I do, but that's just how I am. You know, and that's like, ironically, I'm so honest about what I do. And like, I'm not afraid of backlash, because at the end of the day, I'm not going to do something, sit there and go, oh no, my viewers are going to hate me and come on and call me a cunt because I changed my mind about how I feel about something.
All right, two things here. One, you know, she talks about how honest she is. She's not. She lies, and more often than not, she obfuscates the truth. And part of the problem, like I've said, is that we are so used to getting lies and obfuscations from her that at this point, everything that she says is in doubt. Of course, if, like, say, a year goes by and she's not told us any, like, consequential lies and nothing has come back to bite her in the ass, then people will start forgetting about it. People will start giving her the benefit of the doubt again. But let's be very honest with ourselves. She can't even make it one day without doing stuff like that. I have very little hope on that front. People are just going to doubt your words because you have shown yourself to be an untrustworthy person. I tend to start off in the position of I trust most people. And I wait for them to break my trust if they're ever going to. And you know what? Some people never do. And when they do slip up, not inevitably, but when they do slip up every once in a while, I let it go. Because I assume that a person who's as honest as they are would have had a reason for saying what they did. They've earned that trust from me. Chantel has burned through every modicum of trust that I have ever extended in her direction. So I'm not willing to give her any more of it. you've abused my trust one too many times, unfortunately. And now everything you say is painted with that brush. And I don't like being in that position. Quite frankly, it makes me feel a little bit scummy because she'll say something like, oh, he hit me. And I think to myself, did he really? You know, I don't like being in that position. I don't like doubting someone who claims to be the victim of something like this. But I don't have the ability to discern whether or not you're being honest in that moment anymore. And therefore, everything you say has to be taken with a lot of salt, unfortunately.
You know? It just doesn't make sense.
Oh, sorry. This is where the second stream is starting, but she does say, she's like, you know, well, it doesn't make sense. I'm like actually, ironically, so honest about everything that goes on in my life. And you know how liable I am to change, you know, able, I think it's liable. How likely it is for me to change my mind. It's just how I am. No. Most people don't change their mind as frequently or as easily as you do, right? I have firmly held convictions that there is very little anyone can do that would make me change them, for better or for worse. And the older you get, the more cemented you become in those convictions. It's significantly harder to change the mind of someone who is like in their 40s and 50s and 60s or than it is for you to change the mind of someone who is like in their teens. It's just how our brains are wired. If after that point you find yourself thinking, I just change my mind on a dime all the time, she needs to go see somebody for that. That's not the average way a person behaves. I'm not saying, I know there's a lot of speculation out there that she could have like bipolar. I am not qualified to make that kind of diagnosis. I don't know, and I don't think so, quite frankly. Either way, it's irrelevant. For you to still be this indecisive, for you to value your own, because that's what it comes down to, I think. That she just values her own thoughts, beliefs, and opinions so little that when she comes across someone who has a more strongly held or more forceful personality and ability to impress that upon her, she's just willing to let everything she goes down the drain. Because she's like, well, they're probably more right. Like, what do I know anyway? And she might not think it quite so obviously, but I do think that's where that comes from. And the thing is, people who behave like that in movies, in TV shows, in fan fiction, they're not portrayed to be people who are of sound, like, healthy mind. You know what I mean? Like, they're not of sound mind. This is not a rational way for people to behave. It's not how our brains process information. If you're so willing to let what you believe, what you so firmly held to be true, then you need to see somebody for that. There is, of course, a second possibility, that these aren't firmly held convictions and that she doesn't actually dedicate that much thought to them. She doesn't actually believe them, in which case she is lying to us. Those are the only two really reliable pieces of information that we have, right? Like that she says one thing and then she changes her mind and she says another thing. So we have to look at it and we say either she believes in these things or she doesn't believe in these things when she says them. If she believes in them, then there is something deeper going on that really seriously needs to be addressed with a mental health professional. Or she doesn't mean them, in which case she's lying to us. And of course, complicating all of that is that it can always be a mixture of the two. Not everyone always only feels one way. Now that I've gone on my giant diatribe and you now have a little bit more idea of what I like to read in fan fiction, which if anybody is curious, I just like reading adventure. I just want the adventure to keep going, you know, because stuff ends and then I feel sad about it. So I just want to keep reading more adventures. But people always need to complicate it with a romance. I hate that shit. No romance, ever. It's fine if it's in your personal life. I just don't want to read about it or see it. I just like stories. There's not like murder in a story. There's no point. There's no point in me even having watched it, quite frankly. Anyway, I might cut this entire section of me talking about fan fiction out because... All right. The second stream that she has is I Am Not Home or something like that. The first one is called Sorry, and it's about 10 minutes long. This one is about 40 minutes long. I think 46 minutes long originally, and I've cut it down to about 3.5 minutes. So let's go.
So I'm going to get off here with my herpy, and it hurts, guys. Don't laugh at it. Did that yesterday. Shave. Don't leave us basic. Why, you guys hate me anyway.
The motion that she does when she's shaving is what makes me feel like I don't know, something like weird about it, that either she doesn't know how to shave or that there was like more to it than just that maybe there was some bumpiness and that's why it happened. Because you don't shave like this on your upper lip. Your hair grows downwards. So if you're shaving, you're going to shave upwards. You always shave against the grain. Right? Right? Have I lost my mind? You do shave against the grain? If you guys can't tell, I mostly wax.
How am I a liar, Trixie? What did I lie about? What did I lie about?
I'm going to refer you to the entire previous section where I discussed fan fiction, and I think that will illuminate a little bit more about what people think she's lying about. And as far as everybody hating her, yeah, her chat is really mad at her. This video, the previous video, I've watched the next two videos that she puts out as well. I think one's called like I Need Company and something else, I forget, I don't care. But I might have a reaction to one of them up tomorrow. And she talks about it here and she's like, well, everybody hates me. Her chat is not happy with her because there is something to be said for jerking around people this much, this back and forth, right? You can only do that and milk people for sympathy for so long before they just stop responding altogether. People get sick of other people's bullshit, as they should.
Nothing. Well, I don't know why, Abby. I'm just living my life. I'm not hurting anybody. So people are choosing to hate me for decisions I make in my life or who I talk to. I don't know.
That would be true if you lived in a bubble, but you don't. Do you remember when you disclosed all of the information about him to Pete and Pete said that I don't like him and Natter threatened to punch him in the mouth? This is the same man, by the way, who's gone to jail for stabbing two people. So when he makes a threat, you should give it a lot more consideration than, say, if, like, your cat makes a threat, right? I assume cats do that. My sister's cat sucks, so I can see murder in their eyes all of the time. So when you're sitting there and you're saying that I'm not hurting anybody else, yeah, you are. Pete is going through a really hard time, and on top of that, you have dumped onto him your own personal traumas, as you're doing to us. You trauma dump on your channel all of the time, and then to further cement that, you know, your boyfriend is threatening the person that you're living with. You don't think that that has a negative impact on him? You don't think the fact that you decided to spend time with him rather than go see your mom after your grandmother died, do you think that has a negative impact on her? You don't think that your actions and your willful avoidance of responsibility affects BB, who went out of his way to talk to you and to reassure you and to give you comfort, and you decided to hook up with your dealer? You don't think any of those people are impacted by this? It might not be like physical, at least so far in terms of Pete's, but that doesn't mean that they're not hurting, that they're emotionally, they haven't been hit. You don't seem to realize that you are not an island. You rely on people for health, for comfort, for all of those things. And everything is in limited supply. So if I'm sitting on here on camera and I'm empathizing with you and I'm spending time with you and we're talking and we're, you know, I'm like trying to be there for you, and then you turn around and you say, oh, all that stuff you said to me, it meant nothing. I'm just going to go back to this guy and continue making those poor decisions. That empathy I expended has still been expended. You still took that from me. And the nature of social media is that it's one way. So you can't give me any of that back. I am not gaining anything out of this if I care about you, right? For me, I don't care about Chantel as a person. I don't. But you know, it makes it sound really callous. What I mean is I'm not emotionally invested in her. So because I'm not emotionally invested in her, her struggling has a lot less of an impact on me than it would on someone who cares. That's why I don't feel like let down or emotionally drained after I deal with her. And even I'm getting a little burnt out. So when you're sitting there and you're saying, well, I'm not hurting anybody else. Yes, you are hurting other people. All those people who make you feel better when you're feeling down, you take from them. And as far as I can see, you're not giving anything back to them other than Pete's. And for Pete, it's mostly death threats from your boyfriend.
I don't know what the deal is, but I get messages from people like, oh, I hope you get beat up. Like, that's real nice. Like, people who sympathize with DV people are the same people being like, I hope you get killed or beat up.
not to sound like an asshole for defending those people, because seriously, fuck those people. Please don't tell people I hope you get beat up. But I have a feeling that that's not exactly how they said it. Because I have said to you guys as well that I wish Chantal would have a severe consequence for her actions. And it's got less to do with the fact that I want to see her in pain and more to do with the fact that if there was a serious consequence for her actions, maybe then she'd be forced to make a decision. Because the thing is, okay, I've spoken to you guys briefly about this, but fun fact, my mom at work fell and she hurt her knee and it tore her meniscus. And she got like reparative surgery done for the meniscus tear, right? Not a big deal. It was really, really like non-invasive and whatnot. But it never healed right. And she got early arthritis in her knee. Like at 40, she got arthritis in her knee. It sucks. It causes her a lot of pain. And when you get a knee replacement, that knee replacement has a 25-year lifespan. So she spoke to the doctor and the doctor is like, look, if you want to get a knee replacement, I would get it sooner rather than later. Because if you get a knee replacement when you are young, that means that when you inevitably need a second knee replacement, you're going to be young then too. And you can recover from it so much faster, right? That's kind of what I'm saying here. It would suck if this guy gets super violent with Chantal and breaks her arm and she ends up in the hospital. I do mean that. I would hate to see something like that happen to her. What I would hate more is for her to continue on in this pattern, move in with him, for him to isolate her completely from her friends and family and control her entire income stream, and then abuse her, and then break her arm, and then for her to have nowhere to go. I think sometimes pain can be a good deterrent. It can be a learning experience, both emotional and even physical pain. And as much as I don't like thinking like this, but I can't think of anything else that would change her mind. I can't. So as much as I don't want bad things to happen to her, I can't help but feel that having a really bad outcome now is going to save her from a worse outcome down the line if she learns from it. And that's where I get stuck. The if she learns from it part. Because fuck, even gonorrhea apparently hasn't been enough. Like there is no action in my life that I could do where if I ended up with an STD, I would think to myself, I can keep going. None.
Moron. So no, I'm sorry. This is mostly just false outrage and stupid bullshit.
I mean, it can be. Some of it is false outrage. But false outrage implies that you are mad at something that doesn't really require you to be mad at them, right? People can be mad at you when they wouldn't be happy for you, right? That just means that they're selectively outraged. But false implies that there was nothing there for them to be mad at. And there is quite obviously there's stuff for them to be mad at. So
there are people who care, but there's a lot who don't. So I'm different because you guys treat me different when I'm here. That's why. You guys love me otherwise.
Yeah, it's funny how people don't seem to hate her when she is just sitting in her room not doing anything. But then the moment she comes over to her drug dealer, abusive, cat-kicking boyfriend's house, all of a sudden everybody's mad at her? That's false outrage.
I know, Mr. Hanky. I know. I'm not mad at you guys for caring, especially after what I told you guys. It's just, it is what it is.
No, it is not what it is. Right? The current state of the coral reefs is what it is. If I go on a vacation to Australia and I look at parts of the coral reef and they're bleached and I'm sad about that, yeah, that is the state of the world. I can try and make it better for the future, but that is the current state of the world. This is not the same thing. You can choose not to be involved with this man, and that's what's frustrating for people. You make it seem like it's inevitable, like you have no control over it. You have control over your own actions, and if you feel like you don't, then once more, might I recommend intensive therapy. And don't come back to me with that I've made an appointment bullshit, okay? This has been going on for 6 fucking months at this point. You mean to tell me that in 6 months you've only managed to get 1 appointment for therapy and even then the doctor bailed on you? No. If you do the same thing that you've been doing the entire time you've been on YouTube, you go to 1 appointment and then you stop. And because you have no actual intention of improving, I don't even know if going to therapy is going to help. What she wants ultimately, I'll save that thought for my other video.
Yes, I have. Okay, I haven't done any Vlogtober videos, and me coming on here is content, right? I mean, when is live streaming not content?
Live streaming is not content when you don't put any effort into it from your part. This is not T from Nappy Headed Jojoba. You know, you're not God, why does my name blank? But you're not the person from Just Harriet, right? You're not someone who's coming onto these lives with a topic prepared. Like, take a look at Pulpy Syntax, right? He does really long live streams, and I can't often sit through them. My time's a little weird, but I do watch like a bunch of them. The shorter ones especially, I'll watch all the way through because he's gone through it. He actually has like topics he wants to discuss, not like her, not what she's doing, where she just comes on there and she relies on her commenters for content.
It is. Oh, I see. Negs DMs, right? So you're not mad about. I don't even know what's going on with that, Savage. I'm waiting for the thing to call me back. So, one of my followers. No.
Okay, so a point in the favor of this actually being something a little bit severe is that if you notice, she's got a little thing on top of her lip, but also she's got something on the side of her lip. It looks like she's got two separate spots of problem areas around her mouth. So I don't know. Like, I'm really unsure. I don't think it is because I don't think it comes on that suddenly. But like I said, my experience with this stuff is relatively limited.
Ouija, I'm telling Bay Nation. Andreas. No, I don't make that every single month.
If you guys don't know what's happening, Just Saying has a video on her channel talking about Negs's recent turn, essentially, and now how he's like speaking against Chantel despite the fact that her behavior now is no different than the behavior at any other point. The only difference is that since Negs has lost his channel, he wanted Chantel to do his dirty work and go on a striking spree and get all of us taken down. And when she didn't, because she disclosed to him that let them talk because I make $12K a month, that's what she's referring to here, you know, he got really mad because she's not willing to do his dirty work. And why would she? She doesn't know him. They're not friends. The enemy of my enemies as far as they go.
That was nice when I did. But
I looked it up briefly because she said that she made $12K. And my thought was, that's actually a really impressive amount. For all I know, she could be making it every single month, right? I don't know how much the rent on her place is. I read somewhere that it's about $1,500. So say she's making $1,500 in rent. That's not a lot, but she's also paying the rent for Koki. She spends a ton of money on food and drugs every single month. And last but not least, and this is the part that I think people need to keep in mind, is that I don't think YouTube deducts as much as they should be. And she needs to pay both federal and income taxes. And I don't think that she's keeping enough aside to do that. Now, she is a creator and she's technically running her own business, so she can claim a lot of what she shows on her channel back from her income. But that still requires her keeping money to the side. I sincerely hope that she is being more cautious because as an unmarried single person, I think she falls into the tax bracket that has to pay like 40% of their tax, like 40% in income tax. And that's a lot of money that you're paying. So say if she's making $12K, 40% of that would be what? $5,000, $6,000 that she's losing right off the bat. And that's still a lot of money to be making a month. But that is still a substantial chunk of money that she is spending both on herself and on somebody who is treating her poorly. And that's nothing to say of the fact that YouTube won't last forever and that she should be saving as much money as she can so that she can live off of it later on. Because God forbid, no one's ever going to hire her.
I know I'm a mess and I know I don't always make the smartest decisions in my life. I'm very impulsive, but I'm very honest and open about things I go through in my life with you guys. And that has always been that way. Like, maybe there's been times where I've tried to hide things from you guys, like by not wanting to tell you things, but that's it. I don't come out here and blatantly be like, you know.
Yeah, she's like, I don't come out here and blame me, like, she doesn't want to say lie because she's lied a lot and then she's admitted to lying in the past. Not just about the coke thing either. As for being honest, I remember read this somewhere where they talked about like brutal honest, I'm brutally honest. And I remember there was somebody talking about, it's like, I don't want your brutal honesty. Where's your kind honesty? Where's your responsible honesty? And that's kind of what I come back to here. I don't care for your brutal honesty. Chantel, I want you to be kind to both us and to yourself when you're being honest. You can tell us about the fact that you're taking cocaine without having lied and gaslit your audience before doing that. You can tell us about the fact that you are seeing this man, but you can be intelligent about the fact that he is lying to you. I mean, fuck, he gave you an STD and you're still unwilling to learn from it. You're still unwilling to grow from it. And that's where I come back to. Like, I don't care that you're being quote unquote honest because you still lie. Just because we know about everything you do doesn't mean that you're being honest and open. Honesty requires a little bit more than that.
I do change my mind a lot about how I'm feeling. Yes, very, very, very much. But that's different. That's, because at the time, it's not a lie. If at the time I believe what I'm saying,
It's only not a lie if you believe what you're saying at the time. And we've already discussed that you either have like mental concerns that you should be taking up with your doctor or with a therapist, or you sincerely are not holding those beliefs and are simply lying to us so that we can support your terrible decision making.
What can I put on this burn?
Here she calls it a burn.
Not burn. See what you guys... I just called it a burn. Oh my God.
All right. So she calls it a burn here, and I think that that's on purpose to feed more fuel to the fire. I actually thought it was Nashi sauce when I first saw it because I'm, like I said, the unobservant. And then this is her community tab fuckery, all right? So she puts up this post and she said, I didn't lie or deceive any of my members. I changed my mind a lot. That's not a lie. The other day when I had a fight with Nader, it was over for me. A few days passed and I missed him, so we talked again and decided to make up, but we're not in a relationship. Am I supposed to hide that from you? I literally cannot win. Who I choose to be with, no matter how toxic, is still my choice. Things are complicated, but we are saying we are friends. We prefer no labels. That's just a way of saying that she's going to slide right back onto that infested dick. I would never mock any domestic violence or, any victims of domestic violence. My choices and stories are mine alone. You as a viewer have the choice not to watch or not to follow me. We have another choice. We can choose to watch, follow, and disagree with everything you have to do. And by the way, if we're talking about choices, you can choose to be with whoever you want, no matter how toxic. I'm not coming on here saying, I'm going to call your mom. I'm going to call the cops. I'm not doing any of that. Do whatever you want. Have fun. Have at it. Get all of the STDs. Gotta collect them all, I don't give a crap. I genuinely don't. Do whatever you want with your life, Chantel. But that doesn't mean that you get to dictate to me my choices. I can talk about it. I can disagree with it. I can leave you a comment. I can be loud and proud about the fact that I think you're being a garbage heap on the internet. Those are my choices. And just like I have no control over what you do, doesn't mean that you have any control over what I do. So I won't tell you what to do. You want to go back to him, go back to him. I'm going to continue to say that you're making a terrible decision, that you're a terrible person for it. All right, back to the comments. I know I change my mind a lot, but this is the only thing I am guilty of. There's lots of things you're guilty of. Gaslighting, manipulating, being a bad daughter, being a terrible friend, being a hypocrite, being a drug addict, and now an STD haver, generally being obese, abusing the medical system. Overall, just behaving in a manner that makes you a useless member of society. I think all of those things are things that I can accuse you of. Some of them I think are significantly meaner than the other, but when it comes to you being guilty, you're pretty much guilty of like almost everything shy of murder. And given the way that you drive, I don't think that's too far off either. Accusations of hard drug use, animal abuse, lying, etc. are all absolute rubbish. You have done hardcore drugs. You often have to cut fur off of your cat because like it gets so matted down with poop, and potentially you let your disgusting ex-boyfriend or boyfriend or whatever the fuck he is now kick your cat, and you've admitted to lying. So which of those three are false? Just because they're not true now doesn't mean they've never been true. History doesn't like delete just because you say it's no longer relevant. You're a liar, and therefore we can't trust you when you say that you won't lie now. That's kind of how that works. That's just kind of how that works. I don't know what to tell you, my friend. And so she puts this up, and then the next thing she puts on is another meth burn with a nashi. And that's when I thought that it was like just a sauce on her upper lip. And Shannon actually, she's like, I think that's a wound, my girl. Thank you for that. I am dumb sometimes. All right. And then she has these two. The first one she puts up, so I regret ever going on Negs' panel. Looks like you guys were all right about him, unfortunately. I guess I like some of the things he had to say, re Hater Nation, but not the super nasty things on all sides. Releasing DMs is low, and honestly, in my opinion, just makes him look worse. I will do more research next time, or just keep trying to stay away from the drama. Regardless, Negs, I guess you felt you had to do what you did, but I must cut all ties. Good luck. So, this seems to me like history is repeating itself. Do you guys remember back when Shani and her were like all best buddies, right? As people from Pakistan and India would say, they were chuddy buddies, which means underwear friends. I don't know where that phrase comes from either. And then Shani all of a sudden had negative things to say about you. And then, gasp, she discovers that Shani's a racist. Who would have known? And now that Negs is saying bad things about her, she goes, gasp, he was saying super nasty things, but they were said on all sides. So, that makes it okay. Negs has come after me. I've never said anything I've maybe said a couple things that are mean to you, but quite frankly, I have never been nasty to you. Quite frankly, I don't come on your channel and leave you negative messages. Quite frankly, I've never been racist. I've never been ableist. I don't do that shit, dude. Outside of being mad at you a lot of times, Chantel, I don't behave in that garbage toxic manner. Next throws around words like the R word, the N word, harasses, doxes, and bullies people. And apparently you were only made aware of this after he was no longer your friend. All it says to me is that you're willing to excuse just about any behavior so long as it benefits you. And given the way that you're willing to let your whatever it is treat you right now, I guess I shouldn't really be surprised. The next message she puts up is, I have gonorrhea. The clinic called. They swabbed my throat and it came back positive for the STD. I have a lot of mixed emotions. I'm going to be taking an antibiotic. Just one pill, apparently. Pill icon. I feel confused. I'm not sure where this came from. He denies any cheating, and I know I didn't. And without proof, what can I do? It's like, she doesn't have proof, so she can't contact the Canadian government and be like, I would like to end my state-sponsored and state-advised relationship with this man. But she doesn't have any proof, you guys, so she can't do that. So she has to stay with him. You see, she doesn't have any proof. After all, maybe this was just an old case of yeast infection that mutated and turned into a brand new case of gonorrhea, and she gave it to him. Those are totally things that have happened to people before. I don't know why no one will believe her. It's so logical. It's so logical. I'm highly tempted to put clown music over this whole thing because I think that it's hilarious and she's being a ridiculous person. I have nothing else to say on this matter. There'll probably be a video out tomorrow. I'm cranking them out real fast. It's probably going to be a little late because she uploaded like 5 videos yesterday, but I still want to address one of them, maybe both of them. I don't know yet. Definitely one though. And yeah, that'll be it for me. Thank you guys so much for watching. Thumbs up, thumbs down, comment, subscribe, all those fun YouTube-y things. I've got all my social medias linked down below: Instagram, Twitter, and Patreon. Think of Patreon as a tip jar for the internet. So if you guys like the job that I'm doing here and you want me to continue, consider tossing a few coins in my direction. You don't have to, and it's not necessary, but it really helps me out, and I do really appreciate it. I want to say a special thank you to my $25 patrons, Oceana Songs and D. Higgins. Thank you guys. I love you. And as always, I'm Jasmine, the sequel, and I am not relatable. Peace. A special thank you to my patrons, Acrophobe, Ariel M, Christina, Courtney EP, Dane TB, Jam Beans, Sidra Z, Colleen L, Debbie Elliott, Just a Jude, Kate O, and a special thank you to my $25 patrons, D Higgins and Oceana Song.